A young student was walking near Erfurt, Germany in the early 1500s when a storm erupted and lightning flashed. He barely escaped a lightning strike that hit the ground close to him. He took this as a sign from God and vowed to become a priest to thank him. Martin Luther was a loner who suffered from frequent bouts of neurosis since his childhood, influenced by his upbringing and his hometown. He had trouble fitting in with his surroundings. He went to Rome in 1510 in a gloomy state of mind and saw the confirmation of some negative thoughts that he had been harboring for a long time. A common trait of different forms of depression is when a person views the world he lives in as a bad and ugly place. A person who cannot enjoy the music he hears or the people he interacts with, even though he is naturally social, starts to doubt everything because of this neurosis. So for Martin, Rome was not a heavenly city, but a decadent one, with its immense wealth and lavishness. The church leaders, the cardinals, wore robes made of yards of cloth and paraded in the streets of the holy city. Luther felt that something had to be done about the seat of St. Peter, which contradicted the principles of the faith he followed. He was a wandering man who led a simple life in the footsteps of Jesus and said that only humility would let the rich man into heaven. He was a religious man. It would be a mistake to think that Protestantism was born only because of what a troubled monk saw in Rome. Big changes in human history happen when chance events meet favorable circumstances. In fact, long before Luther came along, many people had been protesting against the church's authority and riches. But out of all the names, the one who will make the most difference in transformation is Martin Luther. Luther first targets the church's custom of selling forgiveness for money. Rome makes a lot of money from this trade, and when Martin is in the Holy City, the forgiveness market is booming. For example, in 1516, Pope Leo X charged people to see the holy relics and pardoned their sins. In 1517, a Dominican monk named Tetzel went around Germany and collected money for sins to build a cathedral and help his archbishop pay his personal debts. In the first half of the 1500s, things like Jesus' clothes or pieces of the wooden cross he was nailed to were sold everywhere, and some monasteries made relics on a large scale to earn money. Also, bribing the church to get important positions was a common practice of the time. The Archbishop of Mainz, who is Tetzel's boss, has a huge debt because of the bribes he gave to get his current job. Luther was angry by what he witnessed and wrote his famous 95 Theses, which attacked the church's useless practices. He hammered the text to the door of the Wittenberg Cathedral on October 31st, 1517. This may look like a dramatic or theatrical act to us now, but in medieval Europe, this was how people started debates. Luther's act would spark the biggest religious conflict in European history. Luther's challenge to Catholic doctrine had three main points. First, he used a verse from St. Paul's letter to the Romans to say that only people's faith was enough for salvation. He said that priests, monks, bishops, and others were not more holy or important than the common person. He dismissed flashy rituals, images, kneeling, or paying for forgiveness as meaningless, and said that they were not ways to salvation. The only thing that counted was sola fide, faith alone. He also said that believers could worship God not just by going to rituals or praying, but by doing their work, duties, with passion in their daily lives. In other words, working hard and honestly, whether farming or trading, was also a form of worshiping God. Second, Luther said that the Holy Book was the only way to learn about Christianity. He said that reading the Bible and thinking about what it said was both the right and the duty of individuals. No priest, not even the Pope, had any role in this process because salvation was a personal thing and there should be no middleman between a person's conscience and God. Luther also said that rituals like baptism or communion were not magical. They were just signs of faith. The Catholic Church taught that the priest could change the wine and bread into Jesus' blood and body during the wine and bread ritual. Luther rejected these ideas and paved the way for some Protestants, like Calvin, to say that the Eucharist was only a symbol. Luther's ideas were not new or original when we look at them objectively. We can find similar ideas in different religions, where the idea of God becomes a structured religion with a priestly hierarchy and a set of rituals. Some people say that personal worship is more important, and that everything we do in our daily lives, even the most common things, is actually sacred and spiritual. But there were some historical reasons why Luther's individual protest became a rallying cry for many people. For example, in the late 1400s and early 1500s, more people could read, and books became cheaper. This helped Martin's ideas travel from one country to another. Religious and secular authorities could not stop ideas by burning books, because new technology made it easy to replace them. The new interest in ancient Greece and Rome fed the humanist philosophy, which valued the human mind above everything else and made people more skeptical. Also, the translations of the Holy Book from Hebrew and Greek made people question the Church's official meanings of the holy texts, and let thinkers like Erasmus use satire to fight ignorance and superstition. Protestantism stressed that each person had to find their own way to salvation, which paved the way for the Enlightenment ideas that shaped modern societies. The French revolutionaries, who proclaimed universal human rights in August 1789 by saying, "People are born and live with equal rights," were partly inspired by the Protestant worldview. The concept of the individual, who is free and equal to all other humans, is one of the essential pillars of our existence, and the significance of this individual surpasses any doctrine.